Ed, good afternoon. Conclave, which is going to play later this evening here, had a chance to see it at Toronto.
Oh, great.
And it was an amazing experience. I want to start off by asking about the source material for the film. I know it was based on a book. I don't remember the title of the book and what year the book came out. But I know you use it as source material. So when you first had the opportunity to read the book in preparation to do the film, what was your initial reaction to the story?
So, book, same title. It was probably released around 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a call from Tessa Ross, the producer, about 6 years ago, that she had optioned a book and then she had a screenplay, first draft, and that, I wanted to work with her for a while. And if I wanted to read it, and I'd read a bunch of scripts that Tessa had sent me, and I'd turned them down, all of them. But she was so great and so religious. I said, definitely, who wrote it? And she said, Peter Strawn. And Peter Strawn is definitely my favorite screenwriter. Because he has he always puts a wonderful plot in there. It's kind of a page turner. But then there's something I would call a soul in there underneath it, what the movie's really about, sort of a second layer, an agenda, something that touches you, just like something else that's actually more important than the plot. And that was my reaction to this one, that I thought, I really love Rafe's interior arc, his struggle and his doubt and so forth. And I could really identify with that, and I thought a lot of people probably could. And then I just fell in love with that that story and that arc, that interior struggle.
Now, of course, the film is a mystery thriller, and the thing that my initial takeaway when I watched it was that we know this is a story about the papacy and all the elements that go into that. But if you sort of took the papacy out and just told it as another story, the structure of the film would still work with the way that you tell the story. You talked earlier that you being here with All Quiet. I think you do a really good job, Ed, of kind of like these sorts of stories. What is it about you and your interest level that you're able to bring that element of you and so successfully kind of put that on screen for us to see?
Oh, I can't analyze myself. You
got to.
I think what I really respond to is a strong perspective. If I have especially let's compare both movies,
right.
And I might do something else in the future, but and they both have a very singular protagonist. And I'm able basically to center the camera around that person and film everything through their perspective. Rafe is our eyes and ears into this world, and we see everything, we hear everything through him. If there's no other character, aside maybe from a couple shots on Isabella, but otherwise it's just really Rafe, and it's either his POV or his eyes, And that sort of helps me understand, okay, I want to make you, and I want to make myself totally egotistical. I want to make myself understand what he's thinking and what he's feeling at any given moment. And if I understand it, there's a chance that you might get it too, so that the audience, that it just transports to the audience. And then I just put the camera where I think I can best capture how he feels, and sort of film it through his perspective. And it just helps me, yeah.
Okay. So the other thing that I found fascinating was inside the structure of once the story starts moving along and the cardinals start to assemble, of just how, and I don't think I've ever seen this aspect of the papacy. I've seen some of these movies, but the political jockeying and the competitiveness, while they're pretending not to be competitive, but they really are. Was that something that you drew from the source material and you just sort of enhanced it in the story? Or was that simply all there and you're just kind of laying out kind of like what the book is giving us?
Just jumping back to the previous question one more
Right.
time, just remember.
Right.
And they're both, both of them have sort of an arc of liberation. They both feel So Rafe opens the window in the end, and Felix dies in the end, and sort of is at peace, sort of liberated from the horrors that he's going through. And Rafe is kind of like, the weight is lifted, and that sort of that propulsion of, and it's just an interior thing. If I can, it's just if I can film that, I've somehow something to tell that I'm always looking for. Sort of to liberate yourself from whatever, from the pressures and from your past, and to find your way,
Right.
And the political jockeying, I mean, we spent a long time with Peter Strawn kind of developing the different political fractions, what they represent in today's world, to update it. Of course, we had some of it in the book, but you need to update it to, the idea of it is in the book. But you need to update it and make it current and enhance the characters and add characters to make that come to life and make us feel that like the movie is actually about the papacy and about what is going on today, And so
I was gonna ask you that, and I think you sort of in a way may have answered where I was going. You made this movie about a year or so ago, right?
Yeah. No,
So,
2. Yeah.
2 years, which is actually perfect because while it feels like in the moment when we were watching it, there's so many parallels politically to what we're looking at right now, it kind of speaks to what we're looking at right now is not really new, but this is human nature, and we've seen this evolve over and over time. And I think that's also another part of what makes Conclave so good, is because the story is universal. It feels like, it's like, wow, the timing of it works out well. So do you agree with the timing of what folks are watching as it kind of parallels? Because it was funny because I remember watching it going, hey, we're not going back. Oh, we're moving forward. It's almost even in the language from, like you said, a couple of years ago when you made it, it's even in the language that is being used now.
Well, this discourse that we have now, that sort of the fights from left and right, race, gender, up, down, rich, poor, all that stuff, that's all on all fronts, it's not just one, it's east, west, it's everyone seems to be fighting each other. We've had that for a few years, so that really hasn't changed, it's just getting worse and worse. It's getting more and more. And so that we sort of put what was in the air into the film, into the script. And I shot it a year and a half ago, I just remember.
Okay.
And finished it like early this spring. And so of course you always want to make a movie that kind of mirrors the times, and where I read the newspaper and I shake my head and I go, oh, we got to give this character, and they're all amalgamations of what we see around us today,
So I found also interesting inside, and I'm assuming this is more of the source material, I love the layers that the film has, where it sort of leads you. There's so many of these things that look obvious and then they're not, and then there's another layer. So the film feels like the onion just keeps unpeeling until we get to the heart of the story, which happens in the third act. And again, I have to commend you for that. I thought it was brilliant. Stanley Tucci, Ray Fiennes, Isabella Rossellini, you had a top-notch cast. How easy is it when you have these seasoned professionals that help you bring these stories to life?
Well, actually, it's a sort of an act of faith or trust in the beginning. You look each other in the eye, and you go, Rafe asked me, so what are you interested in? Are you interested in the plot? Are you interested in the state? Because he's actually kind of a detective, right? A reluctant detective.
Right.
And are you interested in that story? Are you interested in the interior, in the journey of doubt of this guy? And I say, 100% the journey of doubt. And he goes, yeah, me too. Great. So we kind of agree what the movie is, what we want to make it about. Roughly. Of course, you're going to have different opinions here and there, but you roughly agree the trajectory, the impulse of why you make the film is the same. And so Rafe hands over his trust to me, and I hand over my trust to him. it's not like I'm not gonna go and tell him, oh, you're acting this wrong. You know, it's Ray Fiennes. Yeah, he is good, and or you're not feeling this. You know, all I'm saying is, oh, you're doing. And would you like another take, or should we try something a little bit, just a variation, or this one line? I had this idea. I always read it this way. What do you think about that? And so we kind of discuss it, and just we just trust each other. You know, at some point there are a few days of testing,
right?
And then he realizes, oh, he kind of knows what he's doing, and I realize he knows what he's doing, and then you just fly. And it's the same with the others. They're all also utter professionals, you know. And I don't think the job of a director is dictating of how they do it, you know. The job of a director is sort of getting the best out of and giving each of them sort of a stage and the time so they can do their best work, and helping them achieve that, and me putting the camera where it belongs, you know, so that I can see that actually kind of my duty is I see what Rafe is doing, I see what Stanley is doing, and I'm blown away by their magic, you know. And I kind of think my responsibility is not to waste a drop of that magic, and sort of preserve it and hand it over to you. You know?
Now, I forgot about John Lithgow, who I think is really solid in this as well. And it's interesting that you talk about the job of director. We had an actor who was here that we spoke with last night, and this very question came up about directing style. We asked about who he preferred, and he kind of went through a litany of explaining that, you know, for him, it was about directors that gave him the space and the freedom. He named a big-time director, or a big A-list director, who he said was a little stricter, that wanted you to hit the paces. What would you think of your style? Like, you just kind of described what you think, like in this case, when you were making Conclave, what you allowed your actors to do, but is that sort of your style, that you want your actor, like you hire actors and give them the freedom after you guys kind of agree on the direction of what you wanted the character to be, and you just kind of step back and just allow them to be?
Well, it's a not kind of step back, you know, but you kind of, first of all, I really plan well, you know. I plan all the shots, I know what I'm doing, and then I kind of forget it and throw it out the window, so I don't restrict anyone, and I don't make, like, the worst thing you can do is build a track and have the actor come in, and I'm going like, okay, we're shooting this, the track is here, and you're walking to the window, and the track is in. That actor will close immediately. They will go, fuck, I don't even know if I would walk to the window. You know, let me find that first. You know. So I still want him to go to the window, but I don't build the track, and I sort of get him there, and it feels like it's both of our ideas. You know? So I I listened to an interview, Tarantino interview. I just quote him, you know, and he says he learned from Harvey Keitel on Reservoir Dogs. He said, listen, there's going to be all these actors. Coming in now. Don't squash their first day. Don't squash what they come in with. They've had an idea of how to play this. They rehearsed it in their room. Don't have them come in and tell them, I want you to do this, this, this. Have them come in and give them what they want. And have them give you what they think the role is. Because if you squash that, they'll never give it to you again. You know, then that's gone. They're immediately inhibited. So at least I want Rafe to do that first. I say, like, all right, let's technically, let's just see, like, oh, you're sitting there, okay, great. I'm gonna put the camera here. So why don't we just shoot it? Yeah, and then I shoot it and I let him do it, because he's gonna have, and then we talk. Yeah, I'm not gonna restrict him before, because I immediately squash everything that he has inside. He's been thinking about this role more than I have. You know, I've been thinking about the movie. And then I suddenly see, oh, it doesn't quite fit with how I thought the overall of the picture should go. Maybe it should just be faster or slower or softer or whatever that is. You know? But most of the times, if you've done your job right, because 90% of directing is casting, then they're great. You know, and you just move on.
Have you shown this film to the church? That was my last question.
Wait, I mean, we've had a few screenings. I wasn't present for the Catholic sort of.
Did they give you any reaction?
For Catholic associations and so forth, and they're all. I think so far. I mean, I can't speak for everyone.
Okay.
But I think they've all been very positive and embracing of the movie, because it's not, we're not taking down the church. We're just like, they're just humans, you know. Like every cardinal in this movie is just like a human being with all their weaknesses and strengths and thoughts and sins, and you know, they're mortal men. You know, they're like you and I. And even the Pope ends up in a plastic body bag in our movie, meaning, you know, like we all just end the same way. You know, it doesn't. You know, there's no difference how rich or poor you are. We'll all just end up dead in the back of the ambulance. So, I think, you know, the church will, like the Vatican will. I know they will watch the movie. All the cardinals will watch the movie. Will they comment on it? I doubt it. You know, I would, if I were a cardinal, I would say it's just a movie. You know, like let them have fun. It's a movie. It's not the truth. It's a movie. Yeah.
Hey, Berger, that was quick. I would love to continue our conversation, man, but thank you for the time this afternoon. Conclave is going to be in theaters pretty soon. I'm not sure the date, but I cannot wait for people
October
to
25, next week.
Next week.
Next Friday.
Can't wait for people to experience Conclave, man. It's a great film.
Anything you need. If you have more questions, we'll just continue.